All right, so our core focus areas. One, innovation. We take the Microsoft suite and accelerate it. So we fill in any gaps that may not be included on the Power Platform. And we take it to the next level to fine tune it to meet each customer's individual needs. We actually work side by side with Microsoft's technical team. So during their development, we keep our solutions up to date as well. And we're actually assigned our own Microsoft technical person to innovate together and assist in any customer development challenges. Our main focus is our customer successes, obviously, and the long lasting relationships we build along the way. We act as your trusted advisors, so we're here to support our customers from start to finish. We understand that you each have your own unique requirements, so we use our learned best practices to design your solution in order to satisfy your desired PMO needs. Lastly, we understand support is so important. We assign a dedicated team to cover all areas of implementation, hypercare, and after launch support. So you're not left hanging once the product has gone live. Again, I'm going to put my email in the chat, so feel free to reach out, and we would love to do a private demo for each of your companies, as again, we know everybody's challenges are unique. Um, and with that, I will hand it off to Erin Boyle, our marketing guru, for her introduction.
Awesome. Thanks, Megan. Hi, everyone. Thanks again for joining us. Like Megan said, I'm the marketing manager here at Marquee 360, and I just wanted to get a little bit more deeper into the products that we do offer. Like Megan said, we work on the Microsoft 365 platform, and we developed an accelerator for Project Online and Project for the Web. So it just gives you this end-to-end project solution all in one place. So you're not having to jump around from platform to platform, and it's all built within your Microsoft 365 licensing. And a lot of it is due to using the Power Platform. So on this slide, you'll see these are all the capabilities that our product has. So manage your task schedules in Project for the Web, all that light task management, but then we do some heavy lifting with Power Apps to give you issues, risks, scoring, timesheets, budget tracking, some of those things that might be missing already out of the box. And then we do have our product. It goes right into Teams, so you can manage all of your details in Teams and it'll sync over to Project and do all of your collaboration from there. So you're not jumping around, like I said. And then we do utilize Power Automate for any of those manual processes you have. We can develop workflows to give you automated approvals. Um, and then we bring it all together with Power BI. So any reporting that you have to get done, we do have pre-built dashboards. We have 15 of them out of our out of our Insights app. So you get all of that with the PPM 360 offering. With us being built on the Power Platform, a major advantage we have is that we can break any of those processes down into just an app. So say you don't need the whole solution right away, your team's a little smaller, or you're just needing some help in certain areas. We have all of our apps that we can deploy faster. And those main categories are our accelerators, like I talked about, that's the full implementation. And then, but then we have it broken down into intake, financials for all of your budget tracking, our timesheet app. We have a model driven and a Canvas app depending on your needs. And our report pack is Insights 360. And then if you want it to just connect Project Online with Teams, we do have a connector for that as well. All right. And then I'm going to pass it over to Stella.
Hi, my name is Stella Salome, and I'm a solutions architect here at Marquee 360. Today, we'll be looking at how to build a schedule in Project for the Web, and I'll also touch on some other things that Aaron's mentioned, like Teams collaboration, how you can do scheduling directly in Teams for your project, and then we'll take a brief look, at resource assignments at the end if we have some time. So I'm going to go ahead and start right here. So from the home page here, we would navigate to our projects in left-hand nav. We'd select new project here at the top. We'll go ahead and give our project a name. Collect some information about it if it's related to another project, assign it to a program, assign it to a portfolio, say this is active, put a start and finish date, which are actually going to pull from the task itself, the first and last task in the schedule, which we'll see. I can also assign like the business sponsor, assign Mia. I'm going to go ahead and save my project. If I wanted to fill out some additional information about the project, I could do so here. And today we're creating this project directly in Project for the Web. However, a new project can also be automatically created from our intake app, which serves as the first step in a full project lifecycle. So if you'd like additional information on our intake app, please feel free to comment in the chat and Erin or Megan can provide a link with some information on that app. So if I were having this project come straight from intake, the project would, whatever information that I filled out in the intake application here, for example, project description, can be linked and connected to automatically be populated in these fields once the new project's created, along with the workflow notifying the requester and or project manager that a new project has been created for them with this information already populated. So we have our status tab, financials, resources. As you can see here on my resource team, we can see the only resource is myself so far. Oh, I see we have a question, Jane.
Hi, sorry, Stella. I just had a question about, I see on the tabs there's summary and project charter. If we have our own templates in the project charter, can we in some way connect that or use the fields that we have?
Yes, absolutely. Whether it be coming from, whether it be like the default, description or project charter and intake and the project's already created with it, or whether it be you can have a default choice value here, whether it be choice dropdown or even text. So yes, this is Project for the Web. It's really great that Microsoft makes it extremely configurable and automated.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah,
so
so
we can put the fields in here that is in our templates.
exactly, yeah.
Customize it. Okay, great. Thank you.
It can be choice drop down. It can be anything. They even have checkbox fields now. They have integrated tab sections. Every day they're releasing more and more new advanced components. So it really makes the system completely configurable. And with using Power Automate, that's when we can utilize those workflows as well to automate essentially any part of Project for the Web, anything from projects to portfolio programs, resource management. So we actually did a webinar over automation where we showed a convert risk to issue workflow. So maybe Erin and Megan can provide some information on that.
Interesting.
Okay. So moving over to, as you can see here, we have many areas like our resources. So as I start to assign resources to tasks in my schedule, we'll see that we'll start to add their names automatically here. So let's go ahead and build a project schedule. So here in tasks is where I'll see my schedule. Now, for those of you familiar with Microsoft Project Online, you'll see that there are many capabilities that are going to be similar in here. And every day, Microsoft is adding more and more capabilities to integrate those features. Let's go ahead and start by adding our main task up here. And we'll add some summary tasks. And then some subtasks. And in order to make this a summary task, we're simply going to take this here and say make subtask. And now we can see that this is our primary. Now we want this to roll up under 2, so we're going to make this a subtask of this. And all you need to do is select enter, and it automatically gives you to the next task to be able to add. Now we're going to summary task 2. Now, using this one, we can say promote subtask, and now it makes this a summary task. Once again, promote subtask, and now we have these. Now it's important to add some milestones in here. So I'm going to add a milestone for the first summary task, and we'll see how that's defined by Microsoft as being a 0 duration, 0 effort hours task. So if I want to insert a task above this line, I'll simply select insert task above. Now that we have some tasks added, we're going to go ahead and update the view. So as you can see, the default view that Microsoft gives you for new projects is this. Now this can be completely configured for your setup to where you can have the default view for new projects created in your system be anything you wish. So as we can see here, we have Microsoft columns that have been given to us, and we also have the ability to create up to 15 custom columns. And we'll look at how to do that after we set up our view here. So normally it's good to have things like start date, finish date, effort, effort completed, effort remaining, depends on for our dependencies, and normally have percent complete as well. Duration I normally have here. We can drag and drop in different places. And quick look doesn't need to be this big, so I normally make it a little bit smaller here. And we'll see how this quick look column can be utilized as well. Now let's go ahead and just start doing some for our first task. So for this first task here, I'm going to go ahead and assign it to Erin. And I can simply type up her name. I can type her name here. And since it's synced with AD, Active Directory in your company, it'll automatically find the person. Now, when I assign a task to someone for the first time in this schedule, it's going to ask me and tell me that this project has not been shared yet. So projects, once created here, can also be created in teams with a team group. So what's asking me here is, do I want to add this member to the teams group for this project, or do I want to just assign them? Now, if I choose to add them to a group, I can create a new Microsoft Teams group automatically, or I can add to an existing group in one of my other teams that I have here. I'm going to go ahead and choose to create a group and assign. I see we have a question, Therese.
Hi, thank you for taking my question.
Yeah, of course.
What do you have any mechanisms in place to protect resource identity within the tool? Like, if if I'm looking for a resource for a project and how do I, and my question is, in Europe, there are very strict rules about resources and what is viewable, what can be shared with people outside of your department or direct reports. Is there a mechanism in here that can protect that can protect the identity of employees that are not legally allowed to share that information?
Just so I understand. So, in this case, a user would need to have access to the schedule, essentially all the parts that we fill out here, except for who the assignment is, who the resource is, correct?
No, I need to assign resources to my project, but certain resources I'm not allowed to view their availability because of legal requirements in other cities and states and countries. Because we might work in the same country, but we're in different departments. I mean, we might work in the same company, but we're in different departments. I would have no reason to know that person's schedule or hours or anything to do with them. So being able to view it here is a violation. Do
I
you
see.
have any mechanisms for that?
Yes. So with Microsoft security roles, security permissions, governance is all extremely important. So what we would do is we would create a custom security role that has, and it's very advanced. So you can say, I want them to be able to see the summary tab, but not anything in tasks. And I want them to not be, I only want resource managers to be able to view resources. We can create custom security roles, completely configurable. And it even comes down to what we call the table view. So for example, if we were to go to risks and issues here, we could even make it, this right here is what we call a table, a risk table, an issues table. It's so specified that we can say this user can see, for example, the risks table, the changes, but not the issues. So it's very customizable. So even down to the task level, we have a PPM 360 resource manager security role that we created that already has very defined resource restrictions, but we need to look at yours in order to customize it. But yes, there's various ways we can do that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Of course. So I'm going to go ahead and do a start date. We'll say today. And when I do that, it automatically gives this date 1 day, and 1 day is going to equal 8 hours of effort here, according to this schedule. Now I can also change this and say I actually only need it for 4 hours. Now, if I want to add my dependencies here, which luckily recently Microsoft has added advanced dependencies in Project for the Web. So if we click here and I want to make this depend on line 3, I would type in 3. And if I simply just select here, it's going to default to the most commonly used advanced dependency, which is finished to start. However, if I hover over this, I can not only see the other advanced dependencies where I can choose from, but as I click on them, it's going to give me a view here of what that looks like on the timeline. So we'll see that timeline in the timeline view for all tasks, but here it's telling me for this task that you're tying it to, what this will look like. So I'm going to go ahead and just do the typical finish to start. And I'm going to make the delay type immediate, although I do have other options for lead by. And if I wanted to do lead by how much? 3, 4, however many days. And a lag by, I can also do lag by as well. So let's say I want this to start when task 3 finishes, but 3 days after it finishes, I can enter that here. This is one of the newest Microsoft advanced features added that makes it more similar and has more the capability similar to Project Online. So we'll go ahead and just do immediate, finish to start. And we can see here that as I continue to do this, it's going to go ahead and do it for all of them. Now, since this is my milestone, I do want to make this 0 durations and ensure that it's 0 effort, because that is how Microsoft defines a milestone. Now, I say that because these are the tasks that would show up on one of our PPM 360 pre-configured reports that we include with our deployment, which would be the portfolio milestones report here. And this report specifically is pulling in tasks with 0 day duration, 0-day tasks. Now, I want to mention that this report, as P360 is, can be completely customizable. So for example, if you wanted to pull tasks in that are in a given bucket, which we'll look at here in a minute, or tasks with a specific label, for example, if I wanted to add a label here, and this label is report. I could do so. So now this or any other task that has report could be shown to be on a report customizable. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to add. And then I'll add my dependencies. And when I select this row here, you can see that's going to go ahead and suggest the next one, which is the one right above it. Let me go ahead and assign some more of these tasks. Once again, when I assign a new task, it's going to ask me, do I want to just assign it or do I want to add them to the group? Here's our question. Do I want to add this member to this project or to the group? As we can see here in the top right, I have 2 group members because I chose to add Aaron. I'm going to go ahead and choose to assign and add Mia. And now we can see I have 3 group members. Now, permissions. What if I want someone to be able to view my schedule, but not necessarily be assigned to it? What I can do is I can simply come here and I can add someone else. Let's say Megan. She might not have a task, but I want her to be able to see this. And now she can. And she's also part of that Teams group, which we can utilize here for Teams collaboration. I can directly make updates to my schedule. This is a different project schedule, but I can assign tasks here to people directly as well. I can add conditional coloring. I can even navigate through the summary and other areas. and I can completely navigate it in here. So not only does it add them to the project, but to this Teams as well. So they can also access the files for this specific project and collaborate on any posts as well. Jake, did you have a question?
Yeah, if you don't have for the assigned, if you don't have a specific resource picked out, are you able to pick a generic resource or make one?
Yes, that's a great question. So for example, if I know I'm going to need a resource here, but I'm not sure who it is, I can assign generic resource here until I know. So for let's say for example, this is a construction project. I've already created this generic context, so I know that I'm going to need a civil engineer for this project. I can just type in civil engineer, and as long as the generic contact has already been created, then I can simply do that here. Now this we can utilize, like for example, on another one of our reports that comes with this is our resource assignments report, where we can see that difference between generic contacts that are assigned versus named contacts. And same here for the resource availability. I can choose to filter out generic contacts and only see named contacts, or only see generic contacts as well. So it's a great question. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to assign. We'll assign to some people I already have on the task. Assign to myself some. I'm going to go ahead and choose to assign Megan. Since she's already in the group, it's not going to ask me. Now that we have our assignments and our schedule base created here, let's go ahead and take a look at conditional coloring, and then we'll look at quick look. So conditional coloring, which is personally one of my favorites. If you're a big Excel conditional coloring person, you're going to absolutely love this. I like to see colors all across my schedule, and with Microsoft's conditional coloring, I can do that. So by clicking here, I can say, for example, I want all the fields that have assigned to equals Mia to show in pink. And I want all the fields that have a effort that equals is more than or equal to 8 to show in green. I would also like projects with percent complete that are equal to or more than 50% to show in purple. And so on, as you can see here, all of our other options as well. And now we can see that that's taken effect. So as you can see here, I said 8 hours or more. So this one's not highlighted. It's highlighted in green here. And then I can also see if I were to update this percent complete to more than 50. It's going to highlight it in purple. Now that we've looked at conditional coloring, let's go ahead and take a look at what this quick look column is all about. So if we hover over a task here, we see an eye, which opens the details or provides more information for that task. When we click on this, we see a pop-up here on the left. We see a pop-up here on the left for this task specifically. So I can see the name of the task is subtask 1, who it's assigned to. I can change or add another person. Let's say I also want to add Megan and Jake to this task. I can see as I do that, the number is going to increase here. So before I had 4 hours. So the task thought that for 4 hours for one person. So what it did is that as I added 2 more people, it gave those 2 people each an additional 4 hours as well. We'll see here next when we look at the resource assignments view, how we can actually configure that to make the hours more detailed. So let's say I'm going to give Aaron 2, Megan 6, and Jake 6. We can add a label directly here from this quick look view. For example, we'll add report. We can add a note. We can update the start and finish, duration, percent complete, priority. So we can do anything here for any of Microsoft's labels, essentially, or any of Microsoft's columns. One thing that's not a column, which I personally love, is this checklist feature. So if I want to say task 1, task 2, task 3, task 4, what it does, as you can see here, is it's starting to populate what I'm showing here. So not only is it showing me I have a note, and I can select this to view the note, and it will make this pop up, but I can also see I have checklist. And as I complete them here, I can see how many of those checklist items are completed versus not. Here on the effort completed, I can also update this as well, say 2. And I can add an attachment as well, whether it be from my computer, from Teams files, or link to our URL. Now, when I add this attachment, it's going to also show me here in my quick look that this task has an attachment. Now, some people find this quick look view more friendly or usable than others. It just depends on really how you like to run your schedule. Some people like to have it here at the forefront, and some like to have it in the middle. Some like to not see it at all, which in that case would simply just select this and hide column. Now let's say I want a custom or column here that, for example, something that says choice dropdown, and I want my options to be yes, no, and not applicable. What we can do is add a column, new field here. The options that Microsoft gives you is text, date, number, yes, no, or choice. I'm going to select choice here and say type, for example. Say yes, no, and not applicable. We can even directly add colors for these. So yes is green, red could be red, and then not applicable could just be a simple, we'll make this purple. Now my column appears here. And for each task, I can simply do a drop down here. Yes, no, not applicable. So as you can see, I have a beautiful schedule built here, and I can move around, hide any of these that I want. Now let's take a look at some of our other views. Before we do that, does anyone have any questions? Okay, questions are greatly welcomed. So here's my board view. So from this board view, as I said, they are reportable. So for example, if I wanted to make this a not started bucket, let's say I want to make this a key activities bucket. I can report on these and, for example, have a table on a report, such as, let's say, something that looks like this. But instead of showing my issues, I could have key activities. And what it would do is we could pull the task name, start date, finish date, percent complete, assigned to, basically anything about that task we could pull here based on buckets, labels, many different ways. But one of the ways is by buckets. So saying every time I drop a task in here, I know that that's going to show up on that report. Users can also create their own buckets, for example. And also use this view to just drag and drop. And then from our grid view, that's also bucket is a column that we can also add here. So we can directly move the buckets from the task on the grid view as well. We can group by bucket. We can group by assigned. We can group by assigned to, progress, labels, priority, and goals. And this group by is actually new as well, the ability to group by all those. Here's our timeline view, which I mentioned earlier. It is interactive, so directly from here, I can, for example, make this duration longer. I can move things to make them dependent on others. So make this, for example. So this is a finish to start. I can see that, but I can, for example, maybe make it related to this one instead. Personally, not one of my favorite views to interact with, but to look at, it's great. Here's the charts view as well here. So as you can see here, it tells me by person below. Jake has on this project 9.96 hours that are in progress, which means that the start date is between the start and the finish date. There's percent complete on it. And then it would tell me any late ones. So luckily I don't have any late ones in my project right now. Here's by bucket here, and here's by the status. On my people view, similar to my bucket, to the bucket view, but with people, I can also drag and drop tasks here. One caveat, for example, is as you can see here, it tells me key activities bucket, the not started bucket, completed bucket. So for these tasks that have already been completed, if you have a completed bucket and the task is completed, it will actually show under a completed this way here. So as you can see here, although this one's in the needs attention bucket, when I mark it here, it goes under completed. Now, one thing to be careful about is if I'm dragging and dropping tasks, make sure that as you see this task is not completed, and I want to move it here with keeping it not completed, it needs to be dragged above the completed. Because if I drag it under completed, it'll just mark it as completed as well and put it in this bucket. So goals is another one of Microsoft's newest features. If you want to add a goal here, for example, finish before deadline, I can do so. And then I can either add new tasks to it here, or from my grid view, once again, goals, I can assign a task to this goal. I assign that to multiple tasks. And when I go to this view here, we can see the ones that it has. If I want to add a new goal, I can. So last but not least, my favorite view is the resource assignments view, which I mentioned earlier. This is also one of Microsoft's newest features, and it allows us to have a more granular view on the project. So what's really great is if you're familiar with Project Online, this is going to be familiar to your similar to the resource usage view. So I can see here I can group by resource, or I can group by task. So as you can see here, that one task I have where I had to assign 3 resources that I mentioned, it evenly divided it out for 4 hours each person. But let's say that Megan's doing the bulk of the work, so she's really going to need 8 hours. And Aaron and Jake are really just assisting. That's where I can get this granular view. Now, let's look for Mia here. So if we go to group by resource, we can see here that for this task, for subtask 2 here, it's showing 48 hours and it's spread across 126 through 22. So as we can see here, the weekends are blanked out, so we can't enter any in here or read-only cells. But I'm going to go ahead and go to the start of this project, so 126. So go to date, 26th, and now the first view is here. So the reason why it spread this out is because it's across a weekend. So let's say I think that on Friday, she's actually going to overwork and really do 12 hours here. On this date, let's say that she's only able to put 4 hours of project work in because she has busy with other ones. And for 12 and 8. As you can see here, as I'm adjusting the hours, it's showing me that for the project task here, how that's changing. So I can change that directly from here. This cell is read only, but it is impacted by what I change and update here. As we can see, this task goes to 2-2, and this is showing to 2-1. So I can select next here and see how many dates there are on that 2-2 task, which is 8 hours here. So I can update this as well here. But if I wanted to actually change the dates or the limits within this, simply changing this to 0 would also make that possible too, because now there's no work on that date. So this has it finishing on this date. So this is one of my favorite views, and you can see it on a daily or even weekly. So now I'm seeing for this full week. So example for the reports, a lot of our resource assignment reports are really important because they come with resource allocation information. So as we can see here, resource availability, resource assignments, we can see those tasks that I assigned in my project under the name. So we can see the resource, project, and tasks. So for example, Aaron's assigned to tasks across 2 projects, this Tesla project, and it gives me some information about them. Which ones are late, percent complete, effort remaining. And then here's the aerospace project that she also has tasks assigned to, and she has some late here as well. Now the resource availability report, this view right here is very useful because it gives us a more accurate resource report here. So for example, if a task spans from 1 month to the next, you can make sure that this resource report is correct by showing the amount of time you'd need in the new month versus the previous month. So today we looked at how to build a schedule in Project for the Web. We looked at the default, column views, how to create a schedule and assign resources to those tasks. We looked at all of the different views: grid, board, timeline, charts, people, goals, and resource assignments. One of the last things I want to show here is how I can filter the tasks. So it lets me filter by essentially anything and multiple things. So if I want to say, show me all the tasks that are assigned to Stella and that are late, I could do so. Or for example, are today, this week, next week, or in future in general. I can also say, show me all my tasks that are unassigned, are not assigned to anyone at all. Now this tells me that it shows me my tasks that are unassigned, and I know now that I need to assign this task to a person. Now this is a milestone task, and normally milestone tasks don't get assigned resources, but let's say it wasn't a milestone task, I could simply assign this person here. And now that's been assigned. So we can filter by essentially anything directly from this filter page here. We can also filter for keywords as well. There's also a way to export the schedule to Excel or team files as well. But as I showed before here, we can actually just manage our schedule directly in directly in a Teams here. So I can be chatting with someone and then switch back over to this, update something. I can all do that all in one place, and posts here as well. I can start a new post saying, schedule update. And now all the group members that I added are going to receive this notification that a post has been added here. I can also add a Power BI tab here as well. So that way I can navigate from my reports back and forth from my reports to my project details. So let them updating things like my status on here. And I want to know how my status report, and I want to know how that's going to look like on the report. I can simply, or what key areas are important for a Power BI report. Now, if you have access to multiple Power BI workspaces, it will ask you. So as you can see here, this is my status report. So I can simply go back and forth, update project details, look at my status report, back and forth here. It's a very friendly place in here. I can also share this report, whether it be with someone in my team or another. I can copy the link to it as well. I'm already in Teams, but if I wasn't in Teams, I could share it within Teams as well. So does anyone have any questions? Looks like we have some time for, we're actually almost out of time, but if anyone has any questions or any areas of the schedule they'd like me to review or see, if anyone's interested in risks and issues. Yes, Carla.
I noticed that from what I'm seeing here, there's a hybrid approach from a project perspective because it looks like you can do a Kanban board just as well as waterfall. Can you tell me, are there any velocity reports that will normally show like in Jira or anything of that sort?
So you broke out at the end. Is there a report that does what?
Shows velocity.
Like Agile?
Correct.
Okay, so so Microsoft is working on making this more agile friendly, but here in the board view, I can group by sprint here, which this is an agile feature. So I can add a new sprint, and say I want this sprint to start, and then I can add and drop tasks directly into it. So if this one ends on 12/29, I have this one from first to this way, for example. And actually drag and drop tasks directly here. So since these buckets are reportable, so would those be. So yes, it would be reportable, the tasks in this, and then the reports are completely customizable. Our PPM 360 comes with the development and configuration of however you want for your system. PPM 360 it comes with the intake app as well, and these 15 reports. But we also can make configurations to the reports, or even a new custom report that we would add to that to reflect the velocity and those buckets as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And then Jennifer, did you have a question?
Yeah, thanks. I did just throw it in the chat. I was just wondering if this is limited to the project plan or if we'd be able to see how portfolio view works when we have multiple projects.
Oh, I would absolutely love to show you that. One of my favorite things. So
Thanks.
portfolio view here, I actually have a pre-configured. So let's say for real estate. So in my, I'll go ahead and duplicate this. So let's say I have a real estate investment portfolio, but within that portfolio, I would have, let's say I have 2 programs because some of my real estate projects are going to be remodels and some are going to be rental properties. So as we can see here in my active programs view, I can see that each of these have 8. And then looking at my portfolios view here, I can look at my projects and see that actually all of those are within this portfolio. So if you think about it as a hierarchy, I get this question a lot, what's the difference between a portfolio and program? A program typically has projects that are similar and would likely share common resources. So for example, someone's Q&A or a trainer and would be able to train on the same context within a different program project within a different same program. Portfolios, they can be projects that are similar or not similar, but normally usually fall under the same financial umbrella. So whether it be, capital house reporting, that's normally under a portfolio, like with investments, if you think about it from that standpoint. But the projects may or may not actually be related to each other or share resources, depending on the portfolio. So this portfolio view here at the projects that I'm seeing, this view is completely customizable with any existing field. So let's say here I wanted to see the status, this project I can see here. Any field that we see within the project itself can be added here. This is a project view here. The user themselves can actually edit a column here. So if they want to add, let's say, baseline budget, you can add it, move it around here, apply it. As you can see here, there's an asterisk, and I can come down and save as a new view. And Microsoft allows, I believe, up to 20 default views for the user to save for themselves. Our portfolio view here isn't customizable for the user, but it is customizable for the the admin or developer. So at the time that we develop this for your tenant, your project, you can say, I actually want this to be the default view for everyone. I want overall health, budget health. You can change and move this around as much as you want, less or more. By selecting on this or multiple here, I can manage these directly. If I want to activate, deactivate the project, delete the project. One caveat about project for the web everyone should know about is once you delete a project, it's gone for good. So please be careful with that. The only way to do it is to restore the backup of the most recent system, which only happens in 30-minute increments usually. So one thing to be very careful about is deleting. But here's our portfolio B, so I can see my portfolio financials. So for all the portfolio benefits, budget, actuals, this is all summed up across all those projects. And then I can provide some general information here. So this is customizable as well. So let's say I want to add a new text field that says, leadership comments or weekly comments. And you can even add a table within here as well. So you can do portfolio status reports the same way you do for project status reports. Jennifer, is there anything specific that you wanted to see regarding portfolios?
Well, actually, kind of like when you go back to even projects itself, and I'm just kind of basing this off of our governance process for portfolio management. As you move through planning phase and into, execution, there's different forms that we have our clients fill out. And so I'm just wondering, is there a way to like capture that life cycle of a total project as it goes through the governance gates?
Absolutely, yes. So we've actually had customers that have that. For example, they have to for every project, they have to fill out assessments throughout the project. So as it's, let's say here's our business process flow up here. In the define phase, they have to submit one assessment, and by the time it gets to phase, they have to submit another assessment. There's various ways to do that. As an architect, I would have questions like how many users are going to be using it, what licenses would they have. If it's upwards of 20 people, then you'd maybe want to consider doing a custom Canvas app, which Marketing 360 absolutely does. We just did it recently for a customer. That way you don't have to we can it's a workaround around the licensing, but it still works and integrates with this app. So they'd maybe fill out assessments there, but we can have them displayed in a way here. They can also fill them out here if the users that are going to be filling out those forms throughout the project, if they have the license that's required to come in here and fill it out. There's many different ways we can do that as well, whether it be through a tabbed section. We can create custom tables. So for example, here's a risk. So if I wanted to log a new one, I would select new risk here, fill out some information. And the way this looks here, we can create custom tables. So instead of saying risk, it might say something like form phase 1 form. Or however you'd call it, Jennifer, whatever yours are. And then they would fill this out and submit it through here. So save and close. and then it would appear in the table like this. Now, if it's just one versus, then meaning to submit multiple throughout the project, I might have a different approach for it. But yes, there's various ways that we can take a current project process and implement it in here.
That's very cool. Thank you.
Another thing with tasks I wanted to touch on is, for those of you who haven't heard, Microsoft in spring 2024, so coming up any day, there will be an integration occurring with Planner and To Do. So Project for the Web will actually start being called Planner here in a couple of months. And what's really great about that is that it's actually going to have a great integration, because let's say I'm a user and I'm assigned to tasks on 6 different projects. What I'll be able to do is use the Planner view to use Planner and say, show me all my tasks across the projects assigned across all projects. From my view, I can select something as completed, and it will integrate and update it here in the schedule. So the project manager is not consistently needing to ask or rely on them. There is a workflow that when I assign a task to a user here, it enables them. Then it's a notification that they receive an email saying you've been assigned to a task, please, for this project, please view, and it has a link so they can directly access the task. But with the Planner integration, they won't even need to come into the schedule. They can just mark it complete from where they are. From a licensing standpoint, all you need to come in here and mark a task that you're completed on a task that you're assigned to is an Office Microsoft 365 license. However, to start managing things like creating tasks, issues, or even to utilize the assignments view here, you actually need to Plan 1. And then Plan 3 would be for those project users that are needing to have full capability of the system, create new projects, attachments. There's really no limitations for Plan 3. Now with this intake app, which is the first part of the project lifecycle, you don't need, there's no licensing issue with ours here. So you could come in, submit a new request, fill out some information, project description, project sponsor. It goes through an approval phase. Once it's approved here, the project's been created. So as you can see here for this demo, I can select on this link and it takes me to the project that was created directly from intake, and it carried in all this information as well. So project manager and what other information they might have had. Did anyone have any other questions about, more to come? We'll be doing a blog coming up shortly with what to expect with the Planner integration. So maybe we can include a link to that. But yeah, the Planner integration coming up is really going to be a game changer and make already a great tool even better.
Awesome. Thanks, Stella.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say really quick, because I know we're coming up a little bit on time, but what Stella showed today is just a small piece of what we're able to do on the platform. Um, that's why we have so many apps, and we do try to have as many webinars as possible to show you guys all of the capabilities. This was just more light task management, schedule building. We do have, like Stella showed quickly, the portfolio capabilities, program capabilities, more of resource planning involved, more in-depth budget tracking. So please feel free to reach out and let us know if you're looking for anything specific. Um, and we can tailor a demo around what your organization needs and what you're looking for. I know Megan put her email in the chat again, so feel free to do that. And we love having these calls and just seeing where you're at in your project journey and seeing where we can help out.
Love it.
Also,
Please reach out. Yeah.
we do put all of our webinars on our YouTube channel, and we also have our blog on our website. So if you're just looking for education reasons, please browse those. And if any questions pop up, we're here.